That's not what I want. Recording, highlighter, editor, overlay. I don't know.
I went into a case break this week for Crown.
Oh yeah, Creme Royale.
Yeah, and initially I was just going to buy because this year King's is cheap as F because mostly they don't have case hits. And it's like $100 for a case. I was like, oh yeah, I should do that. And then I was looking at it. I was like, actually, I wouldn't mind Magic's, and they've got like 2 rookies. They don't have 2 case hits, but then you got like Banchero autos, and I was like, do you know what? Like for cheap, go not cheap, but it's not like 3,000 or something like that for the Spurs spot.
Yeah.
The Kaboom didn't come out to the last box, and Aiden was the breaker, and he was sweating like a motherfucker. Like he was sweating 10 times harder than we were.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Oh, that'd be so bad.
But he did say something funny because he was like, 35 people were watching the break. And then as soon as the Kaboom came out, everyone dropped off. There was 5 people left.
Everyone was just literally waiting for the Kaboom.
Yeah, so literally people are like, I just want to see these big cards, all these other small shit. Like, I don't care, so.
God, but that's people are like, I want to see the case hit, and that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Far out. Oh, goodness. God. All right, so what have we got? MVP, yeah.
I think we have to talk about this dude. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, I think, because everything's interesting.
Yeah.
But I think he's deserved it. Like, he deserves the MVP, but how does this shift the needle? Because he's in some pretty elite company.
Yeah, definitely. So one of those slides in there has got, the players with 3
MVPs.
Yeah, there you go. The other one I thought that was kind of cool to talk about, I don't know how this really fits in, but the MVP summary of countries.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think it's whatever world summary that one is.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
There was a joke. Well, it wasn't a joke. It's got. Do you know which city is been the birthplace of the most number 1 picks?
Portland?
Melbourne, Australia.
Really?
Yeah, Ben Simmons, Bogut, and Kyrie Irving. I mean, he literally probably spent less time here than a player on a 10-day contract, but he was still born. Yeah.
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 That's a good little trivia question.
Trivia fact, yeah. Name 3 NBA number 1 draft picks to have been born in Melbourne, Australia.
Trivia.
All right. Well, we're live. We're up.
Oh, are we?
We're on YouTube anyway.
Okay.
We're just not on Facebook, so we're not going to have any listener questions unless people are on YouTube.
On the tube.
In which case, I probably won't see the live feed anyway. Let's be fair. But we'll work with what we've got this week.
That's all we can do, man.
Exactly right. And Anthony Edwards, I think that guy's worth talking about. He's going all right.
100%. To be honest with you, if he didn't win MVP, I would have just started off with Anthony Edwards. But
was it SGA that got second? I didn't even see the final votes.
No, Luca and then Shea.
Was it Luca and then Shea?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hang on a second. Got that in the sheet. Oh no, you're right. Shea then Luca.
Yeah. Someone was messaging me about it the other day. Just going, oh, interesting. No, not interesting at all. Not interesting at all. Quite boring when you think about it. At least Luca's getting up there, hey? Top 3. Is that an accolade he can put on his resume to make his card prices go up?
Save the banter for the show, Mr. Adam.
Fair.
All right, you ready?
All right, 143, right? Yes.
Whatever I wrote on the run sheet is correct. I did check that before I penciled it in. Yeah.
Perfect. Welcome everybody to episode 143 of the You Can't Cop This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts Adam, Amy and Russell Gibson. Russell, it's awards time.
Absolutely. MVP, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. Was that all in 1 week?
It pretty much dropped. Yeah, over the space of like 3 days. I think it was the Defensive Player was unquestionably Rudy Gobert.
Was it?
Was it unquestionable? Was it? Was it? I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
I thought Victor put up some pretty good defensive stats, to be honest.
He did. He did. It didn't. I don't think it went in his favor that his team finished dead ass last. So,
Yeah, absolutely not.
that probably matters with defensive player of the year.
Well, actually, now that we're touched on this, which was not in the run sheet, so we've segued before we've even started. But
I like this. A good segue.
these individual awards very much do depend on team success.
Yep.
And I think the best way to describe what's happening with the Wolves at the moment is their regular season success is now being represented in the individual player awards. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Look, to be the defensive player of the year, you'd expect your team to be better than the bottom, and their defensive rating to be pretty good overall.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you look at Minnesota; they do have the best defensive rating in the league, and rightly so. Rudy Gobert is an amazing defensive player, and this will probably be his last defensive player of the year, as he hands over to Victor Wembanyama for the next decade. But yeah,
look, I'm actually not that upset about that. Rudy did get it because
I think he deserved it.
he is still a rookie, Victor, but at the same time, it is kind of exciting because so if you think about what Rudy does in terms of his shot blocking and his rim protection, I feel very comfortable saying that Victor can do the same thing, but he is a lot more mobile. So for all the things that Rudy can't do, that's where I'm like, in the next couple of years, that's going to be, for me, the most intriguing part of. So
Victor,
yes, we know all the things he can do offensively, but what is he going to be able to do defensively the next couple of years? Like that's, to me, very intriguing. So
yeah, Wembanyama's going to be. It's a watch this space. It's very watching his evolution. He's going to be entertaining to say the least.
Absolutely. Anyway, let's not get too segued before we even kick off. Let's get straight into our number one topic, which is the MVP. Which is Nikola Jokic. So congratulations to the big guy. I am happy that he won the award.
Yes.
And I love watching him play basketball. I love the way he plays. I love what he does for his teammates. I love what he does for basically just the game of basketball. I think he's a fantastic representation of the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put this to you. Do you think now that the league has been officially passed on to Nikola Jokic? I think that's the first place to start.
I think he is now. You can't deny how good he is. Like, you can't call it a fluke. You can't. He's such an all-round player. And he's demonstrated it time and time again. The reality is he probably should have 4 MVP awards.
Really?
I mean, last year was splitting hairs. They were trying not to give it to him. Look, no discredit to Embiid, but there was a case to be made that Jokic could have taken, could now be on 4 MVPs.
I agree with that narrative that voters try to go away from repeat giving it to award winners. I definitely agree with that, particularly for MVP. So yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. But this year, I don't think. I mean, once Embiid went down, and sure, look, SGA, he had a fair crack at it. But do we want to just look at the breakdown?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
First place votes 79. It's unanimous. Like, it's such an overwhelming number of first place votes.
Yeah.
Did anyone doubt that he was going to win MVP? Probably not.
Yeah, I thought he was going to win it. I think it was a huge stretch for SGA to win, and I think the person who I thought was going to get more votes was Luka.
Mm.
And I actually wonder if the same voting strategy that people put on Victor for Defensive Player of the Year, I think has been applied to Luka for MVP, in that he'll be MVP. Yeah, well, team performance, but also he'll be there in the future. So in the next 2 to 3 years, that's when Luka's going to be winning, say, 3 MVPs in a row. Like, I wonder if that's the sort of the narrative in the back of people's heads, and whether that's right or wrong, that's a separate argument altogether. But
how Luka's like 25 now? He's just turned 25.
Yeah,
so he's still very young.
Ridiculously young. Yeah.
Yeah. He's still got 0 MVPs, right? Just
He
just
still has
checking.
0 MVPs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you. How long it's going to take for you to get it into
Just
Luca, but that's all right.
just get the knife in nice and
We're
early.
about 5 minutes in. You've done well.
I did well. Like I referred to Embiid, gave some SGA some press before I went and dug the knife into Luca's back.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So SGA 15 first place votes, 40 second place votes, and 40 third place votes.
So it was a good showing, very good showing by both SGA and Luca.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty clear you can't look past the Joker at the moment. Jokic he's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's going to be an interesting series, I think, that they're currently locked in.
Yeah. Right. So we haven't spoken about cards yet, so let's get down to it, Ad.
So it's
Silver PSA 10 last sold for $3,500 USD. Pop on that for PSA is 159. So in terms of what we're used to talking about with the ultra modern, that is extremely low pop.
It is.
If you're looking at growth over the last 2 years, he's up 37%. If you zoom in a little bit closer, the last 3 months, he's up 20%. So
okay.
I look, we spoke about this gentleman last week, and I was very high on him, and I was trying to look at this from a perspective of an all-timer. And we were discussing this, and the MVP award hadn't been announced yet, but in the back of my mind, I thought he would be winning it. And the other thing I thought too was that the Nuggets are looking pretty good this year, and he might win another championship. So the Wolves have done their darndest to destroy my assumption there. So that this series for me is easily the most watchable series out of all the four. Not that I'm not enjoying any of them, but for me, this Wolves Nuggets series is can't miss TV.
This is the battle. This is actually the battle. Yeah.
For me, I just can't miss these games because, if the Wolves win one more game, then it's 3-1, then that's it. It's to climb back from that, it's almost impossible. So I'm loving this series so much at the moment. It's just been a fantastic series.
It's strange because like the first 2 games were in Denver and the Wolves took those games.
That's right. Yeah. It completely turned the series on its head.
And you're like, "Oh, this is going crazy." And then the man in question right now, Nikola Jokic, stepped up in Game 3, and they've made this a series.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are the reigning champions, so I would never be writing them off. That's for sure.
So I finished the show last week saying that he's a strong buy. I'm still staying with that. My position hasn't changed in a week. If anything, it's strengthened a little bit just because he's now got another MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, just for a little bit of context, we could look at who else has won 3 MVPs. So other players with 3 MVPs: Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Moses Malone with 3, LeBron James, Wilt Chamberlain with 4, Jordan with 5, Bill Russell with 5, and Kareem with 6. So I think in terms of
pretty elite company.
That's right. The rarefied air. And the part where I'm sitting now, actually, when you look at this list, there's 9 guys in there. That's a really good top 9 list. And maybe all these debates we have about the top 10 of all time, and maybe you just look at this list and you say, this is it. And whether you put this one first, second, or third, or fourth, fifth, or sixth, that's the real, debate of it all. But, what a list that is. I mean, Moses Malone is probably a little bit too high, isn't he? That's probably the one you'd argue away.
The first one you'd probably...
Yeah. But look, what a list is that? So...
What happens if he wins a fourth? What happens if he wins a fourth?
I wonder for MVPs that, yes, it's important, but I wonder for championships is the next part. Like, if he just has 1 championship, that's still fantastic. But if he gets 2 or 3, I wonder if the narrative increases around him. Or that's the part that's more important to increase his narrative. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think there's a lot of weight on number of championships.
Yeah.
Because it's great. Look at that list, and Michael Jordan sitting there on 5, but that's to go with 6 rings.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but then you look at Bill Russell. There's a lot of rings that go with that.
Yeah, I think that becomes a very complicated conversation when you're
It's a,
parrying that out. But
it's a weird equation, but
yeah,
you're right. Rings do come with it. Finals MVPs, like there's a few different criteria. I think would
yeah.
be the right word.
Jumping back to cards, I thought it'd be nice to have a look at something that wasn't a silver PSA 10. So I found his 2015 National Treasures numbered to 99 rookie autograph. So no patch in that, just straight rookie
Yep.
autograph. PSA 10 though, so population on this is 9, so incredibly low population.
Very low.
The super fun thing about this conversation is the original sales. So if you scroll out to the all-time data, the first couple of sales were sub 2,000. In fact, there was actually a sale less than 1,000.
Wow.
810. And then after that, it was literally just an exponential rise up. So the last sale on this was $35,000.
Do they? I'm just checking, but it's like, does it parallel the winning of MVPs? Do you know what I mean?
I would say that where it's going exponentially up, that was before.
Was it
Oh,
21,
no,
22,
that is
and
about
24?
right. Yeah, that is about right. You're right. But I think the fun thing about this guy is that he was such a late draft pick. And the first year
have you seen the meme and where it's like taken at number whatever it was and it's a Taco Bell ad?
Yeah.
And he's literally just the little runner at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Nuggets select Jokic.
Yeah.
That's the footage of his draft.
And maybe that's the best way to explain why these people sold it at the price that they did. You can't even throw shade at them. He was literally a second round pick, wasn't playing that much for his first year and a half, 2 years. So
and then all of a sudden,
yeah. Now, the last thing I found, which is basically going to fit into that classic category that is so often associated with our show, just useless pieces of information. But this is from Kirk Goldsberry. So if you don't follow Kirk on Instagram, on Twitter, do yourself a favor. This guy is an absolute genius, and he'll share as much information as he can. So basically, it's every single MVP winner, and he set it up graphically so that it's the flag of the country where you were born.
yeah,
And so it's littered with American flags. And then the last 6 years, they're not American players. So I think what he's trying to represent here is how that the game is becoming so international. And
wow,
that I think the other part of it too is about the American developmental system.
yeah, okay.
There's been a lot of criticism over the years about obviously the NCAA model, which is now being completely revamped and they're allowed to play professionally. I'm using air quotes in that. And also the AAU model, where essentially they were saying that's actually detrimental for people's health, but also their basketball development. So, yeah. I think it's an amazing piece of graphic there.
It is. It's that Olajuwon was the first non-American to win an MVP as well.
Yeah.
Canada's sitting there with 2. The old Steve Nash. Yep. One of those should have been Kobe's. Anyway,
you're not bitter about
not
that
at all.
still, are you,
not,
mate?
not at all. Not at all. It is. Well, I guess its country of birth isn't going to change, but Embiid's now considered an American.
Do you know the funny thing about that ad is that that's nearly 20 years ago, so we're literally like the old men in the room complaining about stuff from 20 years ago.
Yeah, this is... Oh, goodness. Yeah, that is. Wow.
Final thoughts on Embiid, sir?
On Embiid?
On Embiid, on Joker.
On the Joker. There's still a ceiling there. He needs more championships, and I think...
So you think that card can still go up then?
I think it can.
Absolutely.
And I don't see any reason he couldn't win another one. MVP, that is.
Sure.
But yeah, I definitely think there is the potential for another ring to go with it and potential in the future. So.
All right, the second thing in the run sheet is Anthony Edwards. To be honest with you, I wanted to start off with Edwards just for the fact this guy's red hot. We've been talking about Victor Wembanyama the last few weeks, how hot he is, how he's bringing people back into the hobby, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, there's something been brewing that we have touched on,
Yeah.
but we haven't touched on it probably as much as we should have. But in saying that,
Yeah.
if you look at his card ladder graph, the only way that you can describe his last couple of weeks is just an exponential straight line upwards to the sky.
I think it's appropriate to, at this point, give the Jordan shrug like he did.
Yeah,
And
that's
just
right. In
what's
terms
going
of
on, yeah.
hobby card value, that's exactly what's happening. So his prices are so crazy, he's basically back to pandemic levels. And I think if we use a one-line summary of what we're about to talk about, I think that's it. He's back to pandemic levels. So
It's
his last sale was 1,758. It's just unbelievable. So if you scroll back to the last month, he is up 135% from about 650 and all the way up to that. So my recollection was, we were talking about this guy in the 600 to 650 mark. We were saying the population on this is
pretty high.
ridiculous.
Yep.
1,677 just on PSA. Do we want to be touching this? No, we don't think we should. We should be looking at, different cards, numbered cards if they're low numbered, blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, that this happens, he's up 135%. So I think first things first, we need to say we were wrong, obviously. But the second thing I'm going to add to this is, I think, guys, if you're holding Anthony Edwards at the moment, get them out of your box. Now is the time to flip or sell,
yeah.
whichever term of phrase you would prefer to use. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings at home, but
I think this is a market reaction personally.
Sure, it is, but you have to also read the market and know when it's time to buy and time to sell, right? So I think we have to discuss that. Yeah. So I cut you off, Ed. What were you gonna say?
It is a pandemic pricing. Like, I'm looking at the last month, and then you go
it's
back
wild,
to
isn't it?
The all-time. Well, what's the all-time high? Is 1,966.
Yeah.
And we're pushing it. We're really pushing it at the moment. 1625. Like, we're back at that 2021, 22 pricing. That's wow.
Look, I don't have a particular issue with this, to be honest with you. I think in a way this is actually kind of a fun part of the hobby, how we do have these, massive spikes and trying to pick them and look for patterns and trends and stuff like that. And I think this is really fun, but at the same time too, I'm going to double down just what I said, a couple of weeks back at 650. I'm like, to me, this is like very much a tread carefully, proposition. And yeah, so now actually I have changed a bit, haven't I? Now it's just an absolute sell for me. So, and look, if you sell one of these and you still want to buy back into Edwards, that's totally fine. I don't have a problem with that, but just the overall population and the price hike on this.
What about people that are looking, I'm just trying to look for some value.
Sure.
Edwards stuff.
Yeah.
The fast break is currently selling at $800 US.
Yeah.
Like it's
just a straight base fast break.
Nah, fast break. What's the prism? The sparkly, the little circly sparkly one.
Yeah.
I don't know what they call that. Those playing at home or on YouTube, I've got the image up, but it's like the circly sparkles. Comes out of fast break. It's got 2020 Panini fast break prism. So fast break prism must be a different silver, I'm guessing.
So if it's the base fast break, it'll literally just look silvery, the prism, but with dots on it.
Dots, it's got the circles, yeah.
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
Yeah. So that pop count of 65 on that in a PSA 10.
Right. Okay, so I can see it on your screen now. Okay, cool. So
yeah.
I would say for that purchase, be doubly careful with that because that fast break variant is not overly collected.
Mm-hmm.
And look,
which is funny because it's the same image, right?
I love fast break personally, and I think there's a lot of value to be had there. But at the same time, I would be just very careful buying that on a spike that it is. Okay, so what I would say though is a completely different thing. Though, if you're looking at numbered fast break, I don't have a problem with it. But at the same time too, I would actually say just flip out your silvers if you've got them now.
Yeah.
Hold on to it. He'll dip back down a little bit and then, buy back in because I would actually say this is not sustainable for him. So, yeah. Right.
Is this a matter? Is this a matter of future pricing? Is this like people losing it and trying to get in because the hype train's just about has left the station?
All right. So I think another way of asking that question is what is contributing to this spike, right? So for me in
Yeah.
my head, there's three parts to this. Obviously, it's his athleticism and his skill,
Yep.
and he's playing really well, and he is playing exceptionally well. I've
Out
got
of
no
his skin.
troubles with that.
Yeah.
The other part of it too is obviously the timing of the sales. These sales have been timed immaculately, and then further to that is obviously the Wolves are up 2-0.
Yeah.
So the narrative there
yeah.
is here comes Anthony Edwards and the Wolves knocking out the reigning champions and the current MVP Nikola Jokic. Like that is a beautiful narrative.
All in
when you
one,
say it
right?
Like,
Like
that.
it's
Right.
it's all happening in one foul swoop. Like there were two up after the two games in Denver.
Yeah.
What do you say to that? That's crazy.
So a couple of other interesting sales. So this is from Card Ladder. 2022 Prism Black 1 of 1, so the true black, that sold for $30,600 on PWCC. That's PSA 10. Now, this is another one which I think is better to discuss, actually, in terms of where should you put your money. Anthony Edwards Red Prism PSA 10, again from our friends at Card Ladder, last sold for $3,000. If you look at the graph there, which is the all-time graph, actually that card had been up to 2,500 during the pandemic and then dropped down basically to about the $1,000 mark. So,
wow. Okay, so the red to 299.
I think that's a much better buy than the silver, though. And it's easy for me to say this because it's not my money. I'm spending someone else's money. But at the same time, and I'm saying this with air quotes, it's only twice as expensive as silver, but it's numbered to 299. Like, to me, in my head, that just plays out so much better.
All right. Well, you said numbered fast break. I've got one because I just saw it on Instagram.
Yeah, talk to me.
In the Card Ladder. The fast break pink to 50 last sold for $5,000.
Yeah, right.
There's some very, and I know what you mean by fast break not being overly collected.
Yeah.
There's some very,
I think the pink
numbers.
in particular is quite difficult to collect because even the red is a little bit of a tricky color, but I still think that looks more aesthetically pleasing than the pink.
Probably.
So you've got the fast break and the pink. And I'm just going to try and tie this into my obsession with cherry blossoms.
I thought you were
So if we're talking pink, right? Both of those cards, we can agree they're relatively pink, right? I would still prefer the cherry blossom to the pink fast break.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of the aesthetics of the two cards, I really think there's more in that cherry blossom than that.
Yeah.
So this next one, this is a little bit of a follow-up from last week. We were talking about Blaise, how he hit the Anthony Edwards 1 of 1 to one of his customers in a break and then tried to buy it from the customer for $250 plus a $30,000 card. I found on Instagram at Luka Doncic PC.
Yep.
Had the honor of picking up 2 cards yesterday for 2 huge collectors in Asia at Blaise Sports Cards. Opened their doors for me and were gracious hosts for a day. Congrats to Hank and June for getting these 2 beautiful cards. So it's been on sold to a collector in Asia. So
wow.
I'm sure Blaise was very sad to see it go, but at the same time, congratulations to both the hitter and the buyer for obviously that massive sale they've just pulled off. So
that's huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Congrats.
Oh. Would you be happy if you were Blaise? seeing the card you wanted just disappear off the continent, I guess. Yeah.
I suspect he probably wanted it to go a different way, but he's got other things he's working on and got in his back pocket. He'll be able to get over this, I suspect.
I think eventually.
Final thoughts on Anthony Edwards, sir?
Get on board. Just get on board.
Okay.
I mean, I'm all for cashing in right now. You've made a few very valid points, but if you've got him, cash in. This kid's the real deal. There was the joke, and that's why I alluded to obviously the Jordan shrug, because he pulled a Kobe in the I don't want to be compared to Michael Jordan. He's the greatest of all time, and then comes out that game and does the Like, pulls off the moves and then does the shrug, and you're like, you're loving this.
I think he's an excellent trash talker too, man. So I think that just fits into that whole part, doesn't it? Yeah.
He practiced, what was the movie? Hustle. He was the villain character in Hustle.
Absolutely.
So good. So good. But yes, Anthony, this is not the last we're hearing of this kid.
I don't think so.
No.
Time for an ad break. So, the Bangman, thank you, Amir and Team Bangman, for your ongoing support. Live, May Gold Edition, Hobby Packs, 2023 Prism, 2021 Prism Fast Break, 23-24 Prism Fast Break, 1920 Prism Fast Break, 2021 Select, 1920 Mosaic Hobby, 23-24 Revolution Hobby. Payment options, Pay ID, PayPal, Afterpay, ZipPay. He's got everything covered. He will rip it live for you. He will post it out to you. Follow Amir, the Bangman, Facebook, Instagram. Get on it, guys. Thank you, Amir, for supporting the show. We really appreciate it.
Now I want to go and buy one of those.
Really?
Yeah.
You're that suggestive when it comes to advertising.
Yeah. No, I appreciate Amir's support and keep hearing all the packs that we can rip and pull myself.
I feel like he'll do you a good deal, to be
How
honest.
many Ant-Man rookies can I pull out of that is the question nowadays.
Alrighty. If we didn't get enough of the Wolves and Nuggets, we're going to talk about it a little bit more because we've got another couple of cards to talk about. So, from our friends at Card Ladder, BGS 9.5, Jamal Murray, gold rookie card number to 10, last sale 3,965 versus Carl Anthony Towns, BGS 9, sold for $2,640.
Oh, okay.
Adam, who are you choosing?
It's the gold edition of Jamal Murray because it's really handy because the only team he seems to play well against are purple and gold.
You're not salty at all, are you?
Not at all. I'm quite happy that the Nuggets have successfully made it through to the second round of the playoffs. Oh goodness, I don't know who I'm taking here. I think I'm probably taking Murray purely because he's younger. And that's a really, I don't know, I just feel like there's a little bit of room to grow for Murray versus Towns. I think he's now, neither of these guys are the guy in their respective team.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking just then too.
Cat used to think he was the guy until Ant-Man showed up. He's also, like, you could almost consider him number 3 in the pecking order.
So I do agree with you to a point, what you said about him with sort of being the man. You know, like he was teamed up with Wiggins. I don't really remember any sort of friction between those two or, you know, who was going to be handling the ball more. I actually think he's a good teammate. And that...
Oh, I don't disagree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think he's done a really good job of basically handing the keys over to Edwards. And, you know, have you heard a peep out of this guy, you know, about this?
No, not this season. I think this season he's been very,
He's got his own sort of quirky things, like saying things like, I'm the best big man shooter of all time and all this type of stuff, despite, you know, Dirk Nowitzki, you know, he's been alive, mate. You need to watch some old footage. Yeah.
Yeah.
But look, so I'll go with the Murray too. The only thing I would add to this, that both of these purchases, I would say, for me, these are very difficult. I think both of these are really second bananas on their team. Yeah. And Towns, for me, is doubly difficult just for the fact that he's a big guy and there is that sort of collectability thing there.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking for value, though, you know, there is some value there with Murray, but I think the root of all of this and where I'm probably going to end this is that you'd be better off spending that money on the Joker. So if you've got $3.9 to spend... Go out and get yourself some Joker because honestly, I think that's where it's at the moment. It's just
I think that's where I was going with it. He's not the number one guy. Like at this point, for both of these teams, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. You can be on the Cat side or the Murray side.
Yeah, sure.
If you want to go with Team Cat, your money's probably better spent after the hype dies down on an Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Investment long term anyway. And if you're on the Nugget side, wait until get on the Joker. So when he wins his 4th MVP, you can get some traction on that too.
Yeah.
Like both of those number one guys are on the way up still.
Yeah.
Yep.
Twitter at NBA_university. Imagine being a guard and you're getting picked up 94 feet by Jaden McDaniels, and then when he gets tired, you get picked up 94 feet by Nikhil Alexander-Walker, and Anthony Edwards is ready to jump your passing lanes, and every time you drive, there are 2 7-footers in the paint. That is hell on earth. So to take that one step further, we now talk about the Defensive Player of the Year voting results. 433 votes for Rudy Gobert, 245 for Victor, and 91 for Bam. We're not going to talk about any cards when it comes to Rudy Gobert because, let's be honest, no one collects Rudy Gobert and no one cares. So I think that's the end of my conversation for this ad. Would you like to add anything to this before we move on to the next series?
I like the fact that they even put Bam and in the like it's a 2-horse race.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, look at that. The top 4, then we go number 5 is Herbert Jones.
Yeah, my boy Herb Jones. I'm happy you got a call out. That's good. Yeah.
And Anthony Davis, who's been complaining about not being recognised, at least he's 4th. Who the hell voted Jalen Suggs? Who the hell voted Jalen Suggs from Orlando for a 3rd place vote? There are 4 players. Alex Caruso got a vote.
Probably the Orlando broadcaster did that. But to be fair, Suggs has been pretty good defensively.
Yeah.
I'm actually not outraged by that. To be honest, the one that I'm surprised about is Domantas Sabonis in Sacramento. I would have thought Caruso, Jared Allen is a better vote. Jalen Suggs even.
We just shout out to my boy, Derek White. 5 votes. Total points. He got 3 votes. 2 3rd place and a 2nd place. Oh, God, Derek White. Is that going to move the needle on his prices? Maybe not.
He's been playing pretty well, to be fair to you.
Yeah, that Boston team, though. Whew. We'll get to them.
Alrighty. The next series is Pacers versus Knicks. And I think my commentary about this series so far is the Pacers have had some incredible luck so far. So round 1, no Giannis. Round 2, no Julius Randle.
This is true.
Mitchell is now hurt. OG's hurt. He won't be playing for the next couple of games.
Yep.
Josh, I was making jokes that OG would be playing 48 minutes a night. Actually, it's Josh Hart who's now playing 48 minutes a game at the moment. So I actually think Indiana's going to run them out the next couple of games. I think they're just going to, I think they're just going to run out of steam, and I think that they just had too many injuries now.
Yeah.
And if the Knicks do win, for me, that's just a testament to how amazing of a coach Tom Thibodeau is, and just piecing together something that, in my head, this just shouldn't be happening. And then the second part is, and this is probably the perfect segue into our next little segment, is Jalen Brunson. His shot making has just been ridiculous. And I think, if I'm being honest about my own opinions here, I've been very dismissive of Jalen Brunson. And I probably had, my opinion was that he was a good player, but now he was in a national market. All these talking heads that only watched the Lakers and the Knicks and no other major market, no other small market teams. Now they're watching Jalen Brunson play, and now they're saying, "Oh, he's MVP," right? But I hate to say it, but I'm almost agreeing with Kendrick Perkins at the moment, which makes me feel a little bit nauseated, to be honest. But here we are.
That's it. I wouldn't go that far.
Look,
it's the Brunson Knicks. I don't know.
His shot making, mate, has been amazing.
It has been. Look,
there's no other way to say it. He's just been amazing. So just keep playing the way you are, Brunson. You're amazing, mate. Yeah. But
what happens when Randall comes back? Do they play well? Are they better without Randall? And I'm a Randall fan. So
huge Randall fan. You need to tell people what your PC was for about 5 years.
Yeah, it's probably the PC that is bigger than my Kobe collection is
Yeah,
Julius Randle.
yeah,
Was very devastated when he was well, didn't re-sign and tested free agency, we'll say.
yeah.
Um, but like I love Randall's play, but I don't know if he works in this current New York like lineup. He used to be like the point forward, and now you've got Brunson who handles the ball quite well. Um, I don't know. I don't know what happens when Randall comes back.
Look, I don't think he is the fit that OG is for Tibbs and the system. I agree
Mm,
with you. But I would also say at the same time, I think Randall really was doing his best to do what was asked of him in the system that he was put into.
also agree. Yeah,
Yeah, and I would also say too, I would say despite the fact that Tibbs and Randall probably aren't the best match, I think there was a lot of mutual respect there. And
agreed.
I actually thought he was playing hard and he was, making momentum plays and doing all the things that you can still do and not be that sort of perfect
Yeah,
fit.
yeah,
So look, I think when he comes back, and if they bring him back early because of all the injuries they've had, I think it'll be like an oasis for that team.
yeah.
Like they're so hungry just for rotation plays. Like Alec Burks was playing 18 minutes last game, something
Mm,
ridiculous. Like that's
yeah.
not the Tibbs dream, is it? So
No, no.
anyway, player versus player, Jalen Brunson, pop of 437 on this, last sold for 408. Again, that very vertical line here, probably not quite as vertical as the Anthony Edwards that we just discussed, but very much on the way up. Then on the other side of our player versus player here, we've got Tyrese Halliburton. So population on that 342, so a little bit less there, and the last sale was 266. His graph here is very much up and down, almost
Higgly
like sort of
squiggly.
a static sort of line, isn't it? Yeah.
Bit of a
And
bit
so,
of a dip.
yeah, the last 2 years, Halliburton's actually down 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm personally going with the Halliburton,
Same.
and I'm looking at this from two perspectives. That Brunson is, on a very steep uphill, and I would probably anticipate that to come back down again. On the other hand, I probably like Halliburton all time as a more substantial
Hmm.
player. So
I think they're both very good guards, and it's funny because I think maybe 350 is their sweet spot. So I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm sticking with Halliburton as well. It's really funny how we've both kind of agreed that we've underrated Brunson and then gone, nah, let's go with
horribly,
the other guy.
horribly, yeah, and
But he's spiked too much for me.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's a sell. I think that's the other part of
I
this
think it's
conversation
yeah.
too. Is do you have Jalen Brunson sitting in your box? Okay, if you do,
If
would
I'm
you like to flip that
yeah.
out into something that fits your PC better? I think that's a very sensible thing to do at the moment.
Mm. Yeah, like it's no. This is not. I'm not choosing Halliburton because I think Brunson's rubbish. It's I think he's just we've sort of missed the hype train once again.
Yeah,
If it was 308, I'm buying that for sure.
yeah,
But I think Halliburton might be undervalued at that because I think he's a like as you said, um, all time. I think he's probably he's demonstrated anyway that he's got the potential to be an all time great as far as point guards go.
yeah. I think the other thing that's been on my mind a little bit too with Halliburton is that if you sort of zoom that graph in a little bit shorter,
Yeah.
you can actually see that he's coming down off quite a high,
Yep.
and that was probably one of the concerns I had about Halliburton was that you can rate this guy and say, okay, there's a bit of value here, but does
Mm.
the rest of the market or are there other people that share that same opinion for him to then increase his value? And I think
Yeah.
that's where I'm probably sitting a little bit now. I'm like, actually, other people do feel the same way, and he has had a bit of a spike. So that sort of gives me a good sort of positive, looking out into the future, say,
Yeah.
I think this guy can spike again. So
Yep.
look, I think this Indiana team is hideously flawed in a lot of ways, but at the same time constructed in a very intelligent way where they're trying to maximize everything that they can. So I think this is a very good situation for Halliburton,
Mm.
but I would also say too, I don't think this is the last good situation this kid's going to be in. I think they can keep building around him and improving the situation. So
Certainly. Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely not panicking. at this point.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely no shade at our friend Jalen Brunson,
Oh,
who has
no
had a
way. Definitely not.
phenomenal season.
Yeah. Final thoughts on that, mate?
As entertaining as this season is, I don't think the championship is coming from this matchup.
Yeah. If the Pacers get to the East Finals, though, I am not going to be shocked. Like, they have just
I
had
think it will be a very entertaining
the
series.
bracket from heaven.
Well, and now you've got, I don't know, the walking wounded in green. The worst thing that could happen, we'll talk about them, but I don't know. Once there's a question mark over Porzingis, I think the almost unstoppable Celtics look very stoppable. Anyway.
Yep.
That's not the series we're talking about.
Definitely not. Let's have a break, Ed.
Let's do it.
This next ad break is brought to you by Slambox, Australia's best value basketball repacks. Visit www.slambox.com.au to check out the latest series or join the Slambox Facebook page and message them directly. Slambox features big-name autos including Giannis, Zion, LaMelo, Banchero, Chet, Ja, Tatum, and more. Super short prints, case hits from a variety of different products including National Treasures, Flawless, Noir, Immaculate, Impeccable, and more. Slambox has different tiered product levels to cater for all budget levels and collector preferences. Thank you, Slambox, for your support. We are back. Thank you for coming back. We hope you enjoyed the break.
We did. It was great.
Do you know what we haven't done this week, Ad, is talk about Central Coast Radio?
We haven't.
And now is the perfect time to say welcome to all of our Central Coast Radio listeners. Thank you for tuning in, whether it's morning, afternoon, or night. And huge shout out to David Griffiths, who is the host of Popcorn Conspiracy. If you don't listen to his show or his podcast, at least give it one go, because he's doing some really good content out there.
Yeah.
I went onto his show this week as a guest. I can't say that I was wrapping myself in glory in my appearance there, but I will say that I felt honored to be with David for a very short period of time. So yeah, Popcorn Conspiracy on all of your podcast platforms, but also, of course, on Central Coast Radio. So please check them out. All right. Our next series is Thunder versus Mavs, and this has been fantastic for me. I've been loving this series. What's your thoughts so far about Thunder versus Mavs?
This is the I might have to concede some points series, so let's hope the Thunder can pull their finger out.
Sure. So, where are you at?
We're running out of time for Kyrie to lose it and blow up the Mavericks. Like, he's actually playing some damn good basketball.
I would go further than that. I would say he's been playing inspired basketball.
Yep. Maybe he's been listening to all the rubbish talk I've been going on about. He's a Melbourne boy. Might listen.
If he does listen, I'll be shocked, but at the same time, it would be flattering. So, just to speak about that really, really quickly about defensive effort intensity, I actually wonder if it's almost impossible to play hard for 82 games a year plus playoffs. And maybe he's been keeping in the tank for a little bit too long, but actually this is his potential and he can play at this level. He's just, choosing to pace himself a little bit. So yeah, Kyrie's been playing out of his head. The thing that's really come out to me is the supporting cast of the Mavericks is so... I was just talking about the Pacers team that's well crafted.
Yeah.
I actually think this Mavericks team, you have to put into that same conversation. Derek Lively is insane. Jones Jr.
I'm shocked, actually. Like, it seemed like a pack of unknowns.
Yeah. I think they just crafted that team really and scouted really well. Like, Jones Jr. is playing with an amount of swagger that is actually impressive.
Yeah.
And the way he walks, it's almost like people are scared of him. I don't think they are, but at the same time, that's just like the persona that he's like coming out with. And then you've got Luka and Kyrie and PJ Washington. Look, I wasn't overly convinced that was the right fit there, but he's doing enough to fit in and and playing hard and doing enough in the fringes to actually make himself valuable in the court. So look, I'm loving this series. I think on the flip side of the court with the OKC Thunder game 2, Josh Giddey didn't play at all in the second half. He played very minimal minutes in game 3. That was all around the defensive matchups by the Mavericks, where they were essentially just not defending him at all. So how that goes from here. You're already hearing people crying out that Josh Giddey should be traded in the offseason. I'm actually not convinced that he will be traded in the offseason. I think the more obvious thing to me is that he needs to spend time with a shooting coach. And
that's
from a secondary point of view, he's still a very young player and a very young prospect. Like, that's not outrageous to say that his jump shot needs to improve. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's totally fine. Is he being played off the floor, though? Absolutely. And it might be that for the rest of this series, we're not going to see very much of Josh Giddey at all. So,
bit sad. Bit sad that's how it's gone. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. So, Josh Giddey, silver PSA 10, last sold for $54. Population on this is 143 with PSA. His market cap is down to $7,700. If you zoom out and you go to the last 2 years with Josh Giddey, that is an incredibly steep downhill. He was at 350 at one point. And I reckon we were talking about him at 250 being a good buy. And then he had that incident where there was some allegations of him being with somebody who was of not the legal age.
An inappropriate age bracket.
Yeah. And then he's basically just, been going downhill. Then my recollection was at around the $80 mark, $80 to $100 mark, we were saying...
It was a buy.
No, I think we had a difference in opinion on this. I was saying he's going to the playoffs and it's going to be a good buy. And again, I've been wrong about a lot of stuff this last couple of weeks, haven't I? So he's going down further. Look, I'm going to double down on this. I think at $50, it's totally fine. I think that if he does have a change of scenery, there's still potential there. But more importantly, I think this kid can improve his jump shot to a point that he's, playing 30 to 35 minutes in a playoff game. So that's where I sit with this.
Yeah, I think there is definitely room to grow. And it's something I actually said about Giddey. I think it would have been the FIBA World Cup, watching Australia play.
Yeah.
And it's very, very much he needs to get that offensive side to the game because he showed, I think it was against France, where he came out and he started shooting the ball well and he started to take over. And you're like, that's the Giddey we need to see more regularly. Yeah. But that's the only time I've really seen it. Like, there are glimmers of it. But you can't have that in the NBA playoffs. You can't have potential or... Do you know what I mean? Not...
Yeah, I do agree with you. But for me, fundamentally, I actually think that that's not really his game. I think he sees himself more as a point forward who's facilitating. And, on paper, it kind of makes sense that he would fit this team, that he's got Shea, he's got Jalen Williams, he's got Chet. All of those guys can shoot well enough that they can play off him, but...
I think he needs to be developed well enough that he can do it if need be. And that's the thing.
That's right.
That's what's happened to him
That's
now.
exactly right.
Yeah.
That is exactly right. Yeah, and I think that's the perfect place.
He needs the string in his bow.
Yep. So the head-to-head I made up for this series is SGA versus Luka. And this is a fun one because...
Oh, trigger alert for Adam.
Yeah, so this is a really fun one for me because it really is two prospects at different points if you're looking at their graph. So SGA is on very much a steady graph upwards, and Luka is very much on a steady graph downwards. Now, population on these two cards is also polar opposite. So we've got Shea at 625, which is not a small amount, but it's not 2,292, which is Luka Doncic, only on PSAs, by the way.
This is PSA 10 silver.
Silver rookies, correct. Yep.
Yep.
So the first question is, I'm going to say to you right now, what are you picking? Then my secondary question is going to be to you long term, which is the better card out of these two?
Ooh. The follow-up question I'm very intrigued by.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to pick one. I'm not sure I'm buying the spike with SGA.
Yeah.
I was excited about him when it was around the 500 mark. I'm like, that's a buy. But at 700,
Yep.
I'm in buyer beware territory.
Yep.
Granted, I probably still wouldn't pay 1,400, 1,300 for a Luca. Given the pop count, given the I don't know, does he get to put third place MVP voting on his plaque? Because SGA gets to put second place. I get runner up. He can put MVP runner up. Sounds better than third place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say if I had them, I'd sell them. At the moment, right. I'm probably steering clear of both.
Yeah.
For different reasons, but
I have to twist your arm to get you to purchase one right now. Which one would you choose?
SGA.
Yeah, me too, actually.
SGA.
And so the long-term question for me becomes a little bit more challenging because I think long-term, I think Luka is the one that I'd be leaning more towards. But at the same time, I think what I'm the most worried about here is obviously the population on that, just for the fact that what is going to happen to this long-term, because I think if he doesn't become the greatest of all time, the realistic thing that it's going to happen here is the bottom's going to fall out of this market at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to come a point where the potential and all the... Okay, so I was going to say excuses, but he is young. He's 25 years old. I understand that. But he still hasn't done it. He's not there yet. He's got the potential to win multiple MVPs in years to come, but why are we paying second MVP prices for him? Like, we're paying... The market has already given him those awards. And I'll keep saying that until it drops below $1,000. But...
Look, I think, I mean, we've been through this so many times, and I think... I don't want to, we don't need to get back into it, but I think what you can't deny about this kid is that he does have a lot of youth records. The youngest player to do this, the youngest player to do that, and I think that is a lot to do with it.
It does show the potential. It shows the potential. So
one thing that I'll run this past you really quickly, and I think we should move on to the next thing because we're nearly up to an hour already. Do you think his disposition is correct to make him successful long term? Because the way he's been behaving for me, I like it a lot. I really think he's driven. You can tell that he's constantly improving. Yes, he does complain a little bit too much, but other than that, I think he's really good with his teammates.
I think
you never see him cussing them out, or
you're right with your teammates. You're right, but I think it's the appropriate. The appropriate time for me to bring up my comment, which has been quoted in the run sheet down the bottom.
Let's slide into that, man.
Let's go straight into that. So, can we...
answer the question, then we'll slide into it. How about that?
Okay. Potentially. I think he's got... It's all about potential with Luka.
Sure.
And I think he's going about it the right way. He is a good teammate.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we basically were almost in agreement then.
Yeah. So my comment in the in the messenger in the Slack through the week was, can we all agree that Luka needs to relinquish the nickname Baby Goat and give it to its rightful owner, Anthony Edwards? I think the nickname Baby Goat is probably deserving of Ant at the moment. Can we just start calling Luka Baby Bron? With all the complaining, I'm waiting for Kyrie to do something stupid and Luka to replicate Bron's J.R. Smith.
Yeah.
In the play, that'll be Kyrie's moment. That will be perfect, and then we can call him Baby Bron.
Well, technically, Edwards is 1-6 at the moment, and Luka's 1-3, so. That's enough for us to call him the baby goat, isn't it?
He's definitely shot through the roof. And the pop count is not as high. It's still high, but it's not as high as Luka.
600 less.
Yeah.
I suspect that's going to change.
I think you might be right.
I wonder now that everything that's going on, people will be sending their cards off like crazy for Anthony Edwards to PSA. There's no reason to think that number's not going to shift a bit higher.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, I think it's a good place to... I'm trying not to be mean to Luka. It doesn't come easy, but...
It's okay, mate. You're doing all right. All right. let's quick hit these last 5 or so things in the run sheet. So Celtics versus Cavs. Cavaliers actually pulled out a game and won in Boston. So they made this
Yeah, they've
series
turned it
interesting
into
too.
a series. Yeah.
So where I want to head the narrative on this really quickly is that Jared Allen was out. Evan Mobley was basically forced to play center, and a lot of the offense in terms of the passing,
Mm.
moving the ball went through him. I
Yeah.
liked it. I liked it a lot. Evan Mobley is not on card ladder. Card ladder, pull out your fingers, get this kid on there. So I found some sales on 130 point.
Yeah.
His silver PSA 10 last sold for $80.
Yep.
A orange laser Don Russ for $25 PSA 10. There was a gold autograph fast break PSA 10 185, a
Ooh.
stained glass PSA 10 for $76, and a Spectra autograph number to 99 sticker autograph for $49.23. Look, I don't think there's a heap of hobby love for this guy, and I don't think there will be. But at the same time, I think the way or the analogy you need to use with this guy is that he's just something very steady,
Mm.
like a stock that's not going to move up too much. It's not going to move down too much. He's a very good player. I have got no problems if you're buying up Evan Mobley at the moment, actually. So,
Yeah.
but I just don't think he's going to see the highs of Luca, Edwards, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I actually wanted to do Mobley versus Tatum. That's what I wanted to do, but he wasn't even on card ladder, so I had to settle with Donovan Mitchell. Just not the worst thing in the world. We haven't spoken about him for a fair while. PSA 10, population 610, last sold for $190.
Yep.
Or on the other hand, would you like Jason Tatum, population of 858, if I can read that properly, and last sold for basically $900 US? I'm going to go here with one of our listeners put this into the Facebook comments. I think that was Nathan that said this. 3.25 Donovan Mitchells over 1 Tatum. I'm going with that because I think what, for me, where I'm a little bit worried with Tatum's is that you use the phrase future pricing. I wonder if this is built and caked into Tatum already. And if they don't win the championship again this year, because I think if we can be honest here, they've got a championship level team. Like, they've got an amazing team.
They have.
This
They have.
This
This
is
is
not
their
shade.
opportunity. This is yeah.
And I think if they don't win it, I think he actually could go down 25 to 30%. I wouldn't be shocked.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? People are like buying up this guy up. Yep, he's going to win the championship. Oh no, he's not. Hasn't done it again. Okay, I'm jumping off. I'm going to jump onto Edwards now. I'm going to jump onto SGA now. So I sort of put him into that very walking on thin ice type thing.
Whoa, this is still sort of on Tatum, but the price is getting out of control. It's not out of reach for me. Like, as far as I think he's got a higher ceiling, but you're right. And if I'm gonna be true to my criticism of someone like Luca, I guess the same criticism has to come to Jason Tatum.
Yeah, look, he doesn't have the same scoring pedigree that Luka does, but I see why people have formed the narrative that he's got the better championship pedigree.
Pedigree.
He can defend, he can rebound, he can score well enough. He's got the size. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
All right. Quick hitting. 2023 Prism Victor Wembanyama Green Shimmer Photal. PSA 10 sold for 113,000 USD.
What?
And I finally found a Victor Wembanyama Cherry, which is numbered to 20. Cherry Choice Scope PSA 10 sold for $42,000. I think that is going to be, actually, of all these crazy purchases that we've seen, I don't know how we can follow this up or how you can hold me accountable for this crazy claim I'm going to make. I think this is not going to go down in flames. I think this is going to be a very constant. And I also think for that price too, at that numbering, I think that's actually very shrewd.
That the cherry blossom.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not sold on cherry blossoms.
It's okay.
Be a nice Mother's Day gift.
Be lovely.
I should have got my mother a cherry blossom card for Mother's Day.
But you'll
give it
hang on
straight-
to it
she'd
for
give
her.
it straight
Yeah, that's right.
back.
Let me hang on to that for you, Mum. Yeah.
I don't know. It still just doesn't. But you're right. It's unique, so maybe it does. It is going to be a good purchase.
Yep.
The
Rookie of the Year voting.
This was a one-horse race, wasn't it? Surely.
Yeah, I think that's probably we can leave it at that. 99 first place votes to Victor, 98 second place votes to Chet. Brandon Miller got 1 second place vote and 83 third place votes. I think that's it.
Did anyone vote anyone but Victor Wembanyama for first? No.
He got everyone.
Like literally that's unanimous.
Yep.
As unanimous as you can get.
As you can get.
That's the perfect score.
It is the perfect score. Yep.
495.
Eye-catching sale from our friends at Card Letter. I am shocked by this, so I definitely want to hear your response to this.
Oh boy.
Black Shimmer first off the loan, Eamon Thompson for the Houston Rockets, $46,000. So, would you rather have this or the Victor Cherry Blossom? That's another way of saying this.
Oh. Give me the cherry blossom.
Yeah, so finally backed you into a corner.
Yeah, you've got there was I'm trying to figure nah. Time will tell on that one.
Have an Andrew gaze into the future.
That's it. Luke Longley.
Now, this next one is literally the stupidest thing I've ever heard, so we don't need to talk about this very long. There was a story that emerged about someone sending cards to a Best Western hotel where they got dropped off on the porch. The card parcel value was $2 million, which now they've somehow magically disappeared.
Magically? I don't think there's any magic involved in it. Really?
So I want you to give me a fake scenario where there is a logically good reason why you would send $2 million worth of cards to a Best Western hotel. Go.
If I can afford to buy $2 million worth of cards, I'm probably not concerned if my wife finds out, if I'm married. But do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Did I buy it with laundered money? Is it... Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's just the stupidest thing I've heard in such a long time. It's just
like I feel like there's the only rational justification is some kind of criminal activity.
Yeah.
And the ramifications of them coming to your address are that much worse. But no.
If you've got $2 million worth of cards, aren't you hand delivering those?
Maybe.
Like, how much is a plane ticket?
Like
$1,000 each way, something like that.
Yeah, it's...
And then not even signature on delivery. Like, it's the stupid... I can't believe it.
Do you know what would be more stupid if they were sent in a plain white envelope?
They probably were.
Probably were. Probably yellow envelope.
Yeah.
Yellow envelope with a name.
Wrapped up with paper. Yeah, no bubble wrap. Just like...
No bubble wrap.
Yeah. They didn't even take it to the post office. They just put stamps on it and like chucked it into the box, you know?
It was like a 9-pocket page. It was just filled with cards and...
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, last one, then we're going to tie this up. So this is a follow-on from last week where Matthew Hull called Giannis the new KD. So he DM'd me. So just bear with me while I try and read this out. So Giannis is the new KD, except he hasn't left the club he started with and probably won't, unless a team like Chicago or Memphis wise up and spend big on a veteran tall. Reason he is like KD, he has one chip. He brings players to him and they fail. KD has done that with every team, bar Golden State Warriors. If I'm even more precise, Giannis is the same old Luka. Hype train noise. Look at me all centered on them, but get a ring and maybe one MVP or two. Nothing else. I sound like Adam Amy. Regulate the Giannis's. But seriously, Golden State came close to being a really dynasty. The only dynasty to ever do it right have been teams that have stars, yes, but the team around them complement and work to each other's strengths. Boston, the greatest of all time with Bill Russell. Lakers, Jerry West. Magic, I think that's supposed to say Kareem. Bulls, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, etc. Kobe, Paul, Shaq for the Lakers.
Yeah.
We have KD, LeBron, Luca, Curry. I hate lumping Curry in with them. All the next great white hope, but none of them except Curry a little admit like Jordan. They're never as great as they were without the team around them. Hence why I think Giannis is becoming the next KD. Joker wins another ring. We're in talks of him being successful and vanilla as Tim Duncan, and we know how great he was. So, Matthew, thank you so much for your contribution, and that definitely gives us some clarity about where your feelings are on this matter, and also some very good comedy for that space too. So I think maybe the best thing to do, I'm not going to analyze that. I'm pretty much just going to leave that as it is. I don't think anything else needs to be said about it. The only thing I can say about this is that the ex-Bucks coach, Mike Budenholzer, has just been hired in Phoenix to iron out KD. So is that a good sign or a bad sign? What would Matthew say about this?
Yeah. Maybe maybe he's the new Giannis. Could be the other. We're just going to complete flip it. KD's the new Giannis, not Giannis being the new KD. We're going to next level this stuff. It's a very good point. All these dynastic level teams had some very solid pieces around them. Like you look at the Bulls with their the 2 3-peats. Yeah, they had Jordan and Pippen, but they rebuilt with solid pieces. I don't know. The first one was like Horace Grant. The second with they came back, rebuilt stronger, and they retooled every year. It wasn't about the core that was always there. It was about the supporting cast. I mean, you're right in the Shaq and Kobe, that Lakers 3-peat, it's the same thing. Had Shaq and Kobe and D-Fish, but they added pieces. You know, like Big Shot Bob, you've got big pieces. Further along, Lakers did it again with Powell, you're right, but without Lamar Odom, Bynum, and the Warriors, KD was part of that retooling. Like when the Warriors were trying to find another way to win, they added KD to add firepower, added dimension. So
yeah, I mean that was a very unique situation with the cap spiking that allowed him to go there. Like that was.
Yeah, and I mean we joked about it last week, saying that they were just going to do the swap, and Chris Paul will go to Phoenix, and KD will come back to win again in Golden State. But I think it's a really valid point. A superstar player is only as good as their supporting cast. You have to have a very solid foundation and the guy in order to be super successful.
The thing that I don't think Giannis gets enough criticism for is his coach killing. Like he now literally has blood on his hands when it comes to coaches, and I think, actually for me the irony is that before he got fired, I thought Adrian Griffin was doing a good job, and now he's stuck with Doc, who could literally just be cashing. That's
called karma.
Yeah, and could be literally just cashing in his pension at this stage, just topping up his super for the next couple of years. Like, and the rap on Doc is that he just plays golf every day, and he's not doing a lot of preparation. And how long is that going to last until Giannis blows his top and demands him to be fired? Like, and then who are they going to hire then? I don't know. Anyway,
well, at what point does Giannis just get traded or go? Yeah.
All right, mate. Final thoughts. What do you say?
I agree with a lot of what Matthew said.
Okay. Well, maybe you should do
regulate the Giannis's.
A podcast spin-off with Matthew Hull.
That's it. Just called Regulators.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you to all of our podcast supporters. Every click is amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you to our Central Coast Radio listeners. We love your support too, and we hope you're enjoying the tunes we've been spinning each week. I think.
Yeah. So some
leave it at that.
A good lot of variety tunes wise.
That's right. Yeah.